Let's get started. Good morning, good afternoon, rather. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Chat. My name is Dr. Tushina Reeder, the director of the Community Health Training Alliance. And with me, I have.
My name is Kyle Shavasta, Public Programs Manager here at the Community Health Training Alliance. And today we are so happy to have Kim R. Lawrence, who is the Purchasing Manager at Philadelphia Fight. Today we are talking about what it really means to manage diabetes. So thank you for joining us, Kim.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
So we're really excited to have this episode. In fact, we're going to be presenting the topic of diabetes today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. We realize that it's an important topic to highlight from the perspective of a person with lived experience living with diabetes. And oftentimes, it's important to hear their stories because we get to perhaps go share with our medical providers about things they should know about the care that we may need, right, as a person with diabetes and things that you didn't know, and perhaps can ask your doctor on your own. And so we're excited to have Kim to share a little bit about her lived experience with diabetes. And so we're going to get started, Kim. And so,
Okay.
question for you: um, what does it really mean to manage diabetes?
Well, in managing diabetes, it's a lot. You have to manage what you eat, watch your weight, your exercise. I was diagnosed about a year ago. However, I found out that about 4 years, and I had been actually in past pre-diabetes, actually in the diabetes stage. But having a doctor for a long period of time, he just kind of said, watch it. He never, talked about really getting to the point where we could definitely manage it. So I really wasn't managing it till about a year ago. I manage it. There's so many different opportunities. Do you take the medicine? Do you not take medicine? Watching what you eat and how you eat, finding the time to exercise. So there's a lot that goes into it. It actually depends on where you are with your doctor and what do you want to do. Like, how do you want to manage
Mhm. So it sounds like while learning about diabetes and learning how to manage it, you have to kind of, on some level, set health goals, right? So can you talk a little bit about what that looked like for you? Like, how do you set health goals?
I did a lot of research. Of course, when I first found out, I was like, oh no, you hear about the insulin, losing the fingers, losing the toes, and that type of thing. So I did a lot of research on my own prior to going on any medicine. And because I was with a new doctor, and it was the new doctor that brought it to my attention, over the last couple of years, your A1C has been really high. Are you ready to do something about it? And to me, that was a shocking office visit because I had been in the same practice for over 20 years. And like I said previously, the doctor just kind of said, oh, your A1C is a little high. But then when I went back and started looking for myself at the numbers, I'm like, okay, this is beyond a little high. So at that point, I took it upon myself to do some research, see the medications that were out there and what they were offering. And because my A1C was not, over 7.0, the doctor's like, let's try you on metformin.
Can I stop
That's,
you right there? So when you
Mhm.
talk about numbers, can you explain to me what the numbers are? Like, what are healthy numbers as a diabetic versus not so healthy numbers?
Well, your A1C should be pre-diabetic is between 5.7 and 6.4. That's pre-diabetic. That's where my numbers have been ranging over the last, years and so. And then from 6.4 and over is diabetic.
Mm-hmm.
7.0 is basically people that usually end up with insulin and is real serious at that point. My
Mm-hmm.
levels right now are between 6.3 and 6.6 over the last year.
Mm-hmm.
So my goal is to get it down to 5.6.
Okay. Okay, because and I recognize that you're sharing your experience based off of your own day to day
Yes,
management, and that it's always important to ask your health professionals about the numbers. Which I imagine a person with diabetes numbers will be different from other folks, and so it's important to I guess understand your numbers for yourself based on
yes.
your okay. So with the health setting goals, I think it sounds like you're learning to manage your numbers and make sure you're within the right number. And then you're also mentioned something about medications of how to know what medication works for you to manage your diabetes. So can you talk a little bit about for you, like what did you expect from your meds or what people can expect from meds?
Well, my doctor started me with metformin. She started me on 1,000 milligrams a day, which was horrible. After the first week, I called her. I'm like, I can't do this because of the side effects. I can't do this medicine. She urged me to try it again for another week. I decided not to because I felt like my numbers weren't that high, and that at that point I was able to start controlling and taking notes of what I eat. I checked my glucose level 3 times a day. So against the doctor's wishes to continue the 1,000 milligrams, I only did the 5. So the 5 was a comfortable level for me. So we did that for about a month. And another thing with people with high A1Cs and diabetes, the doctor should every 3 months you go and you get the A1C. You get check your A1C gets checked. So for the first 3 months, it was pretty good. I went back there after taking the medicine for about a month. No, 3 months. I'm sorry, and it went down from like 6.6 to 6.5. I was still real frustrated. I'm like, I'm taking this medicine. I'm dealing with these side effects. And the doctor and I talked, and I asked her, how about if I tried on my own without the medicine for 3 months? Because at that point, I had done a lot of research, what to eat, what not to eat, and speaking with my nutrition, what the things to watch. The hardest thing for me was the Pepsi. Had to give up the Pepsi.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, because Pepsi's loaded with sugar. But one thing I found out also from the dietitian was the added sugar, something that I never paid attention to in reading labels. He got me into reading labels. It was the added sugar that's in a lot of products that he said to watch. Like anything over, I think he said it was 12, leave it alone. Something as simple as relish. I always was a sweet relish person for my potato salad. But then when I looked at relish and market, I'm like, oh my God, it's like 22 added sugar, grams of sugar. So I little things like that, I switched to dill relish rather than. So those are some of the things. The next 3 months, I tried it without the medicine and really focused on watching and doing a diary of what I ate. And believe it or not, without the medicine, it went down to 6.2.
So question, so when you were kind of testing out what worked for you with your
Mm-hmm.
nutrition and how you ate and things like that, you were able to I guess let your doctor know what was working for you, right?
Yes.
How did the doctor support you in that? Because I think it's important to figure out what works best for you because medications do impact each person differently. And so I'm glad that you had the support of your doctor to help you kind of figure it out. So how was that process?
She was really open. She was against me going off the medicine for 3 months, but
Mm-hmm.
her knowing me know that I'm going to find a way. I don't like taking medicine. If I can find a way to not have to take medicine, and diabetes is something that can be beaten. There are people, and I talked to people, there were several people I knew that were diabetic and are no longer diabetic. So a change of how you eat, exercising, and really want to focus on and being proactive
Mm-hmm.
is how I look at it. I don't want to be on medicine, but of course, doctors, most doctors, it's like, oh, you need the medicine, blah 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 blah. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I decided I wasn't going to do it,
Mm-hmm.
and then I proved it to her by having that A1C number go down without the medicine. But she wanted the numbers to go down quicker, so we were back to okay, let's try it again for 3 months. And by then, my body kind of adjusted to it somewhat, so it wasn't as bad. So, and that's where we are really pretty much right now. We're back and forth every 3 months, on, off, on, off. Only because she wants to see the numbers go down quicker. She's feeling like the numbers will go down quicker with the
Right,
medication.
right. So I'll say this is for our listeners, again, we're not medical professionals and we're not, advocating for anyone or applying that you should stop medications.
Right.
However, Kim is just sharing her experience and what she did to figure out what worked best for her to help manage her diabetes. And so, part of this kind of this segment is, to talk about your lived experience, but also to kind of share what you think the doctor should know as a person in care. I think sometimes doctors may tell you what is important and what you need to know and what would help you, but they may not necessarily know what you're experiencing or questions that you should ask
Right.
doctors, like about managing your diabetes and what medications work. So what were some things you would suggest people ask their doctors to make sure um, things are working for them in their management of diabetes?
Well, the first thing I want to say, and I found this out from uh, a friend with a medical background. I have been with this practice for 20 years and with the same doctor for 20 years. And what happens is that sometimes you get so friendly and you're talking about other things more so than medical. This doctor never paid attention to it at all. It wasn't until he retired and I got another doctor who was looking through my charts and was like, have you ever discussed with Dr. So and so about, your A1C levels have been really high over the last couple of years? And I'm like, no. So at some of the things, she was really, I think the biggest thing for me is because she had an African American background. And with her, the diabetes, as we know, in the African American community, has a higher percentage. So she was more advocating about, okay, let's take care of this, what we need to do. And diabetes can also mess with your kidneys, your eyesight, and things like that. So I'm not just focusing on A1C, but we need to focus on all the other things. So right then and there was like, have your doctor check those levels first before you start any medicine. Is my kidney still functioning good? How's my eyesight? Because you have to get an eyesight once a year test for diabetes, and they do the fingers and the toes just to make sure that the circulation is still there. And discuss. There's so many different medicines for diabetics that discuss with your doctor. Sometimes it takes. I didn't want to go any farther than the metformin. Like let's just stay with the metformin. Let's see how that works. But you really have to question the doctor, like really question them, really find out, really focus. Because what I really find out, doctors don't really discuss with you managing diabetes. They just kind of put you on the medicine and go from there. It was me Googling and doing research and talking to different people that dealt with the same thing, which helped me to manage mine better. Because doctors don't help you manage it. They really just give you I'll say my doctor. They just give you the medicine.
So it sounds like you're really talking about self advocacy.
Yes, very important.
Advocate for what they need, or if they have questions, ask those questions, so they'll feel comfortable about the care that they're receiving. I think
Yes,
anything, not just diabetes, just their health.
right.
Like how just ask
Yeah,
about your health and being that person to advocate.
absolutely. I really appreciate that you not just took the time to research and self advocate, but you invited your doctor in on that conversation with you and said, hey, let's talk about this and
Right.
create a holistic health plan for myself. And kind of in that vein, you think holistically, what are, we think about like diabetes management and the various tools and devices that are available to help you manage it. What can someone expect in regards to diabetes management when it comes to the different gadgets and health tools available? What can someone expect, and what are things that you use?
Now I use the glucose machine, a little stick your finger. Now my doctor actually was against me doing that. She was like, "It's really not necessary. The A1C is not that high that you need to be sticking your finger." But for me, in keeping a journal, it helped me to realize if I took it one day and it was like maybe 200 or 180, which is high, I'm like, okay, what did I eat that day? And I can look back on my journal and see what did I eat that day that caused my sugar glucose to go up. So even though the doctor said I didn't have to do it, I went out and purchased it on my own. And where I was doing it 3 times a day, I'm now doing it 2 times a day because I see my levels are, staying, maintaining where they need to be. But that's one of the things I did for myself. The doctor didn't say I had to do it, and she actually said you don't need to do it. But once again, advocating for myself, I wanted to check and see like, are the foods that I changed to, did it really make a difference going from Pepsi to Diet Pepsi? Those type of things for me. So that was one of the gadgets. It took a minute. They say, you could use different fingers, and I don't go to the one finger all the time. And it's just, I'm used to it now. I just kind of prick the finger and keep it moving. I guess because I get happy when I see the number.
That's
Oh,
great. Can you talk more about your journaling experience and how that's kind of helped you kind of keep track of everything?
Well, at first I was doing it in the book, like trying to write, write down. But when you're always on the go, you kind of forget. I use an app on my phone that's called Lose It, And not only does it help me keep my calorie count down because I want to lose weight as well. That's a big part of, reducing your diabetes and your A1C level is losing weight. So I use an app called Lose It on my phone, and I record everything that I eat. And I like it because you actually scan the food and it gives me all the ingredients, the counts, the grams, especially the sugar. That's what I'm looking for. Sugar and carbohydrates. And carbohydrates is one of the things in the beginning that I always forgot. I just kept thinking sugar, sugar, sugar. We always say about watch your sugar levels. And when it didn't go down at first, I'm like, okay, I'm not even drinking Pepsis anymore. I didn't have a cookie. I'm like, what? And the doctor's like, how's your carbs? Like, I love potato salad and I love rice. So those were the things that were hard for me. Watching your carbohydrates as well. So using that Lucid app really helps me. I could go back to yesterday if my A1C was high or my glucose when I checked it and say, okay, you had 2 cookies count, you snuck and had a Pepsi. And you can see the difference in the number. So the journaling really helps. It's a lot of work with the paper and pen, but now that I use my Loser app, it's easy because most of the time I'm eating the same thing all the time. We constantly eat the same thing. And you don't have to put it in. You can just go to that and hit it and add it to breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
And that's Lose It.
It's called Lose It.
Is it in the Apple Store or Android?
Apple Store.
Gotcha. Very cool. Very cool. And that kind of like leads us to our next question. We are approaching the holiday season. We are approaching the colder months. We're going to be inside for an indefinite period of time on the horizon. What kind of advice would you have to folks who are kind of new to managing their diabetes when it comes to diet and movement?
You know what? That was a scary thing for me because I was focusing more on my weight. To be truthful, I was focusing more on the weight than the diabetes and the A1C, which, actually is a good thing. But what happened, we all been home for a while, so my thing was like, oh my goodness, I haven't lost any weight. I hadn't lost any weight, until I talked to my doctor. She was like, but it's been 8 months and you haven't gained any weight. So that's a good thing, but the exercise was the hardest part for me. I prefer to go to the gym, but of course, as soon as I was ready to go back, they closed up again. So I have a couple videos at home that I do. I have a granddaughter who likes to walk. So I found a place nearby that has like a circular track. And I try to do that at lunchtime. That's my lunch. So it took me a while working from home to try to figure out, okay, how am I going to do this? When I'm sitting at home, we can't go nowhere. I can't go to the gym. And then I just started thinking outside the box. I really don't like to walk outside, but there's a large church right next to it. It has a circular parking lot. And using my watch, I walked around enough so it could tell me how many laps is 2 miles. So I know I need to walk around that circle 8 times in order to get those 2 miles a day. So, and it's hard, when you're home and you're working from home to figure out, okay, what's the exercise that I can do? And that was my biggest challenge right there, like getting to the exercise film, thinking about it. And of course, I've been thinking about Thanksgiving, like, okay, what am I going to do here? But you know what? Instead of, I would say to people, and this is, of course, not a medical, like I said, I'm not a medical doctor or anything about, for myself, was to set small goals. Portion control is better for me. I love potato salad, and I'm going to have potato salad for Thanksgiving, but it's the portion that I'm going to have. I love stuffing. I'm going to eat the stuffing and all those things, but I think the portion control is the biggest thing.
Yeah. And I like that. You kind of have to meet yourself where you're at. Right. We in the work that we do, we often say meet people where they are. You have to meet yourself where you're at. And, right. Set those goals with your doctor and with yourself. Like you said, you're going to have potato salad for Thanksgiving, yes. So I think that's really good advice. Yeah, that's great. I think there's a lot to chew on. And I think for anyone who's listening or watching, who may be new to this experience of managing diabetes. These are all really great tips and really thoughtful and holistic. So thank you.
You're welcome. And I just want to end up with saying to people that, and for me, when I didn't reach a goal, it was hard. But we set our goals, even if I slip and get that Pepsi on Saturday. Okay, Kim, you weren't supposed to have that Pepsi. Don't just fall off the wagon. Okay, go back, focus more. And if you think in your mind why you're trying to do this, then it'll help you a little bit. Because for me, it's about managing right now, but it's about at the end of next year, there's no more metformin finger sticking and the weight loss. I want to beat diabetes. I don't want to manage it for the rest of my life. And it is obtainable. It is.
That's wonderful and really inspirational. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Dr. Reader? Gotcha. So,
Yeah, so I'm reading through our questions in our Facebook chat box, and it sounds like my mic is low. So I hope people were able to hear the questions that I was asking our guests, and I'm hoping that you can kind of hear me now. Yeah, I didn't realize that my mic was low, but we'll definitely be sure to yeah, look into that. But thank you for letting me know that you couldn't hear my mic. Sorry about that. But yeah, so Kim, I do appreciate your willingness to share your experience with us. And as you were talking about the exercise part, I laughed to myself. I thought, sometimes exercise is hard. You just don't feel like doing it. You're like, oh my gosh, or it's too cold, or it's too hot. But I like the idea of, walking. Walking is, if you're able to walk is good, whether it's around the block or up and down your steps if you live in a home, or if you live in an apartment complex, walk in the hallways, just to get some movement in, I know that there's something called chair exercises where you don't have to do a lot of moving, but you can move in the chair, like move your legs, arms. So there's ways to still move and get the blood flowing as a form of exercise. And so, but yeah, thank you for sharing, what you've done creatively to make sure that you get some exercise in for yourself.
And you know what? I just want to mention real quick. I also forgot about the Wii.
Oh, the Wii.
I love playing tennis on the Wii, which I found out is a good exercise because you're moving around a lot. Like a lot of people think you're just standing there, but I could get a good 30-minute workout playing tennis on my Wii. We're not even going to talk about the Michael Jackson experience. That's like advanced cardio. So those are some other things you can do.
I haven't played a Wii in a long time. You know what? They still have Wii's out, Kim.
Get that Michael Jackson experience video and you would dance the pounds away.
Okay. But yeah, I
Awesome.
think what you shared was some great information for those folks out there who are living with diabetes and can probably ask some questions to their doctors and maybe take some of your ideas that you use for yourself and, implement them as well. Are there any questions out there from our visitors about today's topic? I'm going to go check the chat, Kyle.
Gotcha. So your mic is loud and clear. So we got some messages from our viewers about that.
Okay.
But no questions as of yet.
I'm going to go check the chat, Kyle.
Gotcha. So yeah, and just as a reminder, as Dr. Reader said, everyone should check in with their doctor and come up with a health plan that is right for them, based on their needs and their different abilities. So.
Okay, great. So if there isn't anything else, now that I've figured out the problem with the mic system, I have to now use. So just a little transparency, guys, we're doing this type of podcast live type thing. Sometimes your computer mic doesn't work as great as it should. So I had to switch to an actual mic. So that's probably why you can hear me better now. I had to switch to an actual podcast mic.
You're fancy.
Yeah, fancy over here, guys. She the chat is getting fancy.
So we do actually have a question for Kim. So Kim, who's working with you the most, regular endocrinologist or a dietitian?
I don't work with I've never seen an endocrinologist. I work with my dietitian. The most actually, I work with my dietitian who we spend an hour once a month talking about the different things, and he's really given me a lot of good information. I've never was even referred to an endocrinologist.
Okay. Any other questions out there?
Yeah, and thank you for that question. That was great. Thank you. We started this series with 0 questions, and to have a question, we're excited.
So Kim, thank you for sharing. Any last thoughts you may have for the audience about managing diabetes before we end?
Just one more something I've thought about, which was the hardest for me, not only just with dealing managing my diabetes, just losing weight. When you're not living alone and cooking for other people, that becomes a challenge as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because you want to cook the full meal for them, but there's certain things that you don't want to eat. So it's learning how to cook in smaller portions for that person and then maybe have something else for yourself. So that could be a challenge as well. It's just me and my husband. But for those that have, larger families and cooking for maybe a spouse and children, that can become a challenge in trying to figure out what you eat as opposed to, making sure that they still eat the things that they need.
Okay. That makes sense. I can see how that's hard to cook for a household, knowing that you can't probably eat what they're eating. Um, in terms of seasoning and things like that, I'm sure you have to look at all of that, consider all of that when you're cooking for yourself or for others. Well, that's something to think about. So thank you, Kim, for sharing. Kyle, was there anything else before
Yep.
we end?
I just want to thank you, Kim, for letting us into your experience and your processes for managing diabetes. This was great. And just a reminder, we're coming back tomorrow again at 12. We're doing a little series right before Thanksgiving. So we will be here tomorrow at 12 o'clock with Teresa Sullivan from Project Teach at Philadelphia Fight, where we're going to be talking about how diabetes is a financial issue as well, and just kind of tips and tricks in regards to managing your diabetes and just on a budget. So
Mhm. So we're excited about that also. Okay, until the next time, everyone be safe and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you, Kim.
take care. Bye
Bye.
Bye.
bye.